Alright, welcome to the channel, and today we'll be talking about the ampsandsound preamp and the ampsandsound Kenzie, but this is a special Kenzie. It has no volume control on it, and these were both sent out by Justin from ampsandsound. They are not asking me to say or do anything other than my honest opinion regarding these, and we'll be going back to them as soon as this demo period is over. So let's dive into what this is all about and why you would possibly need separates, such as a preamp and a amp, and and getting everything separated out from having it like an all-in-one type deal. And this will just be my thoughts regarding that. So let's swing into it. So right off the bat, the first thing that I did when I hooked this all up and I was going was that I noticed that the gain on the pre, I could barely twist it and it would be like blowing out my ears. It was super loud. You know, swapping out one of the tubes, the ECC, I think it's ECC83S, was what came stock from ampsandsound, and this is a high gain tube. Where I switched it out with a JJEC82, and with that everything got better. Like, I had way more play in the volume or gain. I had the noise floor dropped a little bit more as well. And when I say noise floor, this is with nothing playing and me turning the volume and getting to where I could hear it. When I did that with the 82, it was well beyond, when I started hearing noise, it was beyond where music would be playing. So take that into account. So with that out of the way and having those swapped out, I did swap some other tubes to kind of, fine tune to my listening preferences, and that's something you're going to want to do with any tube amp, is find the tubes that work best for you and or synergize with that specific amp. In my use case is a daily kind of deal, because this has been my daily and only amp setup I've been using for everything from listening to music to movies, video games, everything. This was my setup for a while, for the past couple weeks, and I've really enjoyed it. I mean, it's nice having that little volume control. It looks nice on the desk, and also because of the way ampsandsound has their layout of their amps, it's nice to be able to have the pre do all the volume control, because sometimes you don't want to reach across and hit the hot tubes or burn yourself. You got to actually move your tube amp away from prying hands, such as if you have children, or maybe you could put a cage over it if you have cats, or I don't know. And then it allows you to control your tube amp and have the tube amp in a different location than your volume control. It makes it a little bit more like ease of life, or use case wise. It's easier to get along with, I guess, for me at least, for sure. Alright, so let's dive into final thoughts, sound, build. I'm going to kind of smash it all together because this is kind of a unique thing, because I've already done the Kenzie, and the preamp it's a preamp. It's a very well made preamp. So, but let's dive into it. So Kenzie first. Kenzie is essentially the same Kenzie you would get any other day. The only difference is that it doesn't have the volume pot. Same fantastic sound. In fact, it's one of my top tube, headphone only tube amps. It's I've loved the sound that this thing produces for headphones. So that is, I mean, I've already done a video on it. I'll maybe leave a link below or something. But the Kenzie itself is, yeah, fantastic. One of the best tube headphone amplifiers I've listened to for headphones. The preamp, on the other hand, is more of a metal case. It's a solid state. It's very neutral, and it's a preamp. So in the build side of the house, has a really lovely matte finish and matte black finish. Volume knob has a nice resistance to it, where it's smooth but has that resistance. So I feel like I have a lot of finite control. And then there's the switcher knob, which is basically the same aesthetic, same look, but it has more of that chunky, like tonk tonk. So when you're setting it into different line ins, lines out kind of deal. So build quality is really great. I really like the aesthetic, because it's just this really nice black, and just kind of gets out of the way, and you can put it anywhere. And another cool thing, like I mentioned before, is that it's nice with Justin's amps, because you could move the amp away and have the pre more in line with your hand, so you can change the volume or change the line in, what have you, readily available, while the amp is more in a safer location. So if you have kids, like I said, or a cat or anything like that could potentially be harmed and or harm the amp, you can get that in a more safe location, which is really nice to have that kind of feature set. So why would you want to have a pre and a tube amp, or just a pre in general, right? And or why would you want to have an amp that doesn't have volume control with the preamp. And I think that comes down to the ability and flexibility to separate everything out and then mix and match as you want for what you think sounds the best. And it's just more freedom. Like, you're paying for freedom to do what you want to do and Tetris the heck out of your system, basically, is what that allows. And it's kind of fun. It's a unique way of going about kind of fine-tuning your systems. And it's not for everybody, and it's definitely more expensive to go that route. But if you're able to, it does allow for a lot more particular like quirks in your system to kind of fine-tune and get things where you want it to be, rather than allowing, say, the creator or builder of these amps or integrateds or DACs, what have you, to kind of dictate the sound signature kind of deal. So you can actually then mix and match and have it be to more of your preferences. So that's really cool. I really dig on that capability of these. And specifically with the preamp from Justin's, the preamp from Ampsandsound, is that it's very neutral to my ears. In that sense, it doesn't flavor very much. There's almost zero flavor to it, which is perfect for when pairing it with a tube amp, because then you let the tubes do all the flavor while the preamp is doing just that gain. You're just getting that power to give it a little more oomph, a little more dynamics, a little more, presence, and also letting you have a little more volume play for whatever you're listening with. And if you have really demanding headphones, it will help with that as well. So, and then that also goes with solid state as well. Like, I paired it with my Phonitor, and it just became this super powerful neutral. It was clean. It was almost too clean, but it was, there's that. Whereas, like, I have a tube preamp that I have, and that in front of a solid state is fantastic, because it gives a little bit more flavor, it gives a little more nuance to, like, the music, a little more warmth. And so that's something to think about as well. You can kind of like mix and match and pair it to what you're using to better fit your listening situation or preferences and what have you. So yeah, I think with that being said, there's definitively a really cool path you can go down with separates. And I think separates are a whole nother rabbit hole of the audiophile world to drop down into and kind of start diving in. But just be very aware that it's going to get real pricey real fast, because usually with that, they become this very distilled product. Like they perfect that specific use case with these products. And so it becomes a little more fine-tuned, a little more, usually they put a lot more care into it, they put a lot more dedication into making that perfect or making it the best way they possibly can for these separates. And so usually with that, you get that price bump, and it can be a little bit pricey for sure, especially in the audiophile world, which is already very pricey. So, but I think it's worth it if you have the funds. And it's fun. It's definitely a fun process to kind of like mix and match and find what fits best with what you like to listen to or with. And yeah, so fantastic products for both the Kenzie no volume and the preamp from Ampsandsound. I think they both have a really good place, and they're both very, very well built. And they both sound excellent for what I was using them for. I love the neutrality of the preamp, and it allows me to the flexibility of putting it with other tubes and also with solid states just to play around and find the sound that I like. And the Kenzie is just still that lovely headphone amp that just has this really beautiful warmth to it and just lovely just staging and everything. It's fantastic tube amp. So yeah, thanks so much for checking out the channel, and I'll catch everybody on the next one. Cheers.